Hi everyone, it's Braylon and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm a special ed teacher in Massachusetts. My classroom is mostly self-contained, and throughout 2020, so much has happened. So much has happened to me specifically as an educator, and so much has happened to education as a whole. Throughout this month of December, I've really been taking the time to reflect on this entire school year. And I feel like more than ever, I do want to look back on 2020. I want to be able to find the really good parts and the really bad parts because I think both need to be acknowledged and dealt with. One of the greatest blessings in my life this year was this channel. I feel like I was able to vlog my entire year. I have all of this documentation of multiple years of teaching and being able to go back and see the highlights and the really low parts. And so I thought I would take the time to kind of go through my year in the life as a teacher with some clips from my vlogs. So I'm going to be narrating the year probably by month, kind of sharing the story with you. And I will be inserting tons and tons of vlog clips that I've accumulated throughout this year. But I'm hoping that by sharing this, there are a ton of educators that have kind of gone through similar things like me. Maybe they can feel validated in some ways. Maybe they can give me tips on things that I should do better in 2021. Like, I'm so open to all of it. But I do want to share this with you because I think there are so many educators this year that have really struggled, and I've struggled too. And so let's get started. Before I even start in on 2020, I do have to bring it back to December of 2019. December of 2019 is easily the darkest month I think I've ever had. Personally, in my personal life, I will not go too much into it, but I did feel very low and down. Some really personal relationships in my life ended. I was very sad about that. But professionally, because this is a teacher channel, professionally, I was working at a job where I just did not feel supported. My actual immediate supervisor was an amazing person, still is to this day, love her so much, but the actual people at my job were not so amazing. It actually took my mom kind of telling me, Braylon, take a look at the job you have. Is it a toxic work environment? For me to take a step back and realize that it was. I was working at a job where in December of 2019, we were really low on staff. The staff members that were left were kind of gossiping about each other. Nothing was positive. Our caseloads were all super high in special ed. We were literally just getting hit on all sides. I was running 2 separate classrooms, which totally wasn't fair. I was planning for all of these people. And so if you're a special ed teacher or a general ed teacher and you work in a school with no subs, with no support, I feel you. I am with you because a lot of us went through that. And then we hit a pandemic a few months later and it just all went to garbage. So December of 2019 was very rough for me. By mid-December 2019, I was like starting Vlogmas, kind of. I have a couple clips of me like in my classroom prepping, like getting ready. And you can totally see in my demeanor and in my eyes that I just wasn't feeling it. But I made a couple lists for myself for tomorrow, the month of December, in terms of teaching in my classroom. I just want to be present. I want to sit here. I want to be in the classroom, not being pulled out for different things. I want to be able to enjoy the time with my kids and my staff. And I just think that this school year, I've felt kind of scattered when it comes to being at work. But I made it through. And by the time I left for winter break, I felt just this sense of relief. But I'm finished, guys. Oh my gosh. I cannot wait for this next week and a half to 2 weeks because I just feel like I'm going to feel so refreshed. I went to my parents' house for Christmas to spend time with my siblings and to celebrate Christmas, and it was so much fun. I vlogged a lot of it. I got to hang out with my best friends. We went shopping. It was pre-COVID, right? So we could do literally whatever we wanted. Made all the fun meals with my parents, and it really ended up being a really good time. But while I was with my parents in December, I did kind of come to some conclusions and decide that I would start job searching the beginning of January and hopefully find a job for the next school year. Little did I know, so much was about to happen. So I came back and I started job searching. I started applying to jobs, starting to be really specific and strategic because I'd been a teacher already. I had already been working at schools. I knew what I wanted and what I didn't want. I am on the job hunt, and it is no secret. It's no special thing, but I am realizing that it is actually a lot more stressful than I thought it was. And maybe it's because I blurred out how stressful this was when I was on the hunt for a job 2 years ago. Some of the jobs I went to, I had to do like demo lessons and had to go for all these interviews, and it was kind of stressful. For one of the interviews I had, they really were really good about giving me information on the students that I was going to be working with, on the specific skills that I brought with me to my interview. And I was able to do a whole demo lesson in front of a bunch of adults. For this one, that I was gonna do a reading lesson. And I packed everything up super neat, super organized, because I wanted them to be able to see that I was prepared for a lesson. In the end, I got offered a couple jobs and I took one. It wasn't in the area of Massachusetts, it was in Boston or in the Boston area. And I was really, really excited about it. So I had to quit my job. I had to literally Google how to write a letter of resignation because I didn't know how to do it. My resignation was going to be for June, so the end of the school year here. Then I kind of enjoyed the rest of my January. I felt very free knowing that I had quit my job, that I had found a new one, and I was ready to go. I don't remember much. I was getting really creative at work. I knew that I was leaving, so I felt lighter when you know you're leaving a toxic environment. We just did a lot of fun, creative stuff. It was also a cool month for me to be creative, like here on this channel. That's more what I remember. I remember all the channel stuff more than I remember the teaching stuff. It was just kind of a blah month. But February was a big month for me because I also realized that I didn't want to stay longer than I had to. So I was actually able to get permission from my new job to start in March instead of starting like in August like I thought I was. So I had to write a second letter of resignation and change the date, and I was really excited. March 13th was my last day, and March 16th was going to be the day that I started my new job. Paper that just says like your IEP meeting is happening this day, their academic skills. My camera almost just fell. I feel like I need a bigger square for behavior, but like whatever. This laptop, because some of the like resources to teach I built at home on here. Favorite things, my AirPods. March 16th was a day. It was the day everything shut down. It was hard because I was like really excited to leave that old job. As soon as I started, we switched to teaching remotely. And I don't need to go into too many details for all the educators watching, but that was a really, really monumental moment for all of us as teachers. We started teaching online. I have so many vlogs from that time, me trying to figure out how to fit a home office in my tiny apartment in Providence, Rhode Island. I kind of want to show you the setup that I have. Wow, this is so bright. I'm so sorry. This is my work laptop that they gave me. Wow, cannot point. I have my MacBook right here. I hook up my monitor to my Mac. I've been editing a bunch of videos for our distance learning, and I like iMovie better than whatever Windows has. It was rough. We all kind of went through it. But after a couple weeks, like in New York, Providence, and Boston, COVID cases started to rise. So I ended up reaching out to my parents, and I ended up moving to Maine for 3 months. It was only supposed to be a month, but it was 3 months. It was there that we kept teaching remotely. It's where I learned about Boom Learning. It's where I learned how to really use Google Slides for my classroom.
Let's try this one. We have 10, right? Because this means...
I'm going to give you a second to count this yourself, and then we'll do it together.
All right. You can see our number game, and you can see me. So let's start playing.
This is Damien. He works at the zoo. We tested out so many things for our classroom, me and my new job and these new students. We had like big group calls, kind of worked, kind of didn't. We had like parent calls that kind of worked. We were making YouTube videos and assigning them every day. We were meeting with kids one-on-one for interventions. We would try and send digitally all of these resources. Oh, you know, I also was writing a bunch of IEPs. You get to a new job. Guess what? All the new kids needed IEPs. So I was there writing IEPs for kids that I didn't know and trying to have IEP meetings over Zoom, which is really something special. It was really, really crazy. But weirdly, I kind of liked it. I also took a lot of time to try and plan for the next year. So I knew already what was to come in like August, September, even though it was like March, April, and May. They all kind of blend together. I knew the kids I would have. I knew the IEPs I would have. So I was taking a little bit of time every day to go through the IEPs. I was taking a little bit of time trying to organize what my groups were going to look like, what my classroom setup was going to be, the classroom schedule. I wanted to make sure I had a scope and sequence for the whole year, for the next school year, having like the science kind of planned and the like fun like social skills groups kind of planned. And so I was taking a little bit of time every day trying to work on those things. Also, just personally with my friends, we started watching The Bachelor on Zoom. And that was super fun to do that together. I started baking a lot more. I was still vlogging my life, just showing you what little bits and pieces. I had brought a lot of classroom stuff with me to my parents' house in Maine. It was all in the basement. So I would go into the basement, get my manipulatives, bring them back up, create videos, have little fake lessons on YouTube. And I really had to be creative. I think all of us educators had to be like super, super creative. Times are tough and you got to get creative. And I found in the basement a bunch of popsicle sticks. So I've been kind of using those for my counting, for my grouping lessons. All right, so tell me if any teacher can relate to this. I'm about to show you one of the most embarrassing things ever. And it is, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this thing almost fell down. Oh my gosh. I found free addition like sheets and I would like laminate them. And they were the type of addition sheets that were like the cut and paste that you find for free on Teachers Pay Teachers. So I'd put them on a construction paper back and I'd laminate them and then I'd add Velcro to the answers. I remember where these are from, but look, they like connect. I think these are cool. I need like some kind of bin to like hold this in. The summer hit and a lot of things happened. One, the Black Lives Matter movement got a lot of traction. I went to universities where we had to take a lot of classes on social justice and racial identity and all of these things. So these topics weren't new to me, but the death of George Floyd and everything that happened here, specifically in the United States, was very, very important to all of us as educators. That changed a lot. And I know that now it's, towards the end of the year, but these are still topics we should be talking about. So don't forget it. Then the true summer hit. I recorded a lot of fun videos talking about my classroom schedule. I spent a couple, hours each day, maybe like going to get a new book or hanging out with someone outside. I was also able to finish my scope and sequence and work on my Made For Me literacy, all of that stuff, getting it laminated and printed and all that stuff. I traveled a bunch. I went to the lake. I went back to Maine a few times. I went kayaking, biking. I took a road trip from here to Chicago. And we got closer to the school year. I learned that my new job, I would be starting in person. person. So I had to go back and start preparing my classroom. It was August. I had this empty classroom with no storage. I had to get creative with it and plan it out. I had a classroom tour, which was so fun. Starting to get ready for my students to come. That's the stressful part of trying to figure out, how am I going to do these new COVID restrictions? How am I going to clean? What am I going to wear? Am I going to wear a face shield and a mask? How am I going to clean up after them, run my groups, have my manipulatives? So stressful. August 2020 was so stressful. I was going to be having kids in person and online, so it was going to be a hybrid model. So I spent a little bit of time trying to get my Google Classroom all set up, my Google website, and getting all of the visuals and calendars and schedules ready in person for my students to come. These are our schedules for different parts of the day. So there's the writing schedule, the literacy schedule, and then the math schedule. So I want to explain really quickly. I put our faces on here because sometimes we might be at tables, sometimes we might be other places, just in order to keep all the kids safe. So I thought I might as well put our faces so they'll come to our face, not to a specific table. And then sometimes I'm going to have kids be working on manipulatives just to kind of get acclimated to school. Sometimes they might be working on all this stuff. And then I keep the extras on the back. I had to make sure the desks were far apart and had to make sure I had enough supplies for everybody. It really took a toll on me as a person. But we started the school year, and overall it went pretty well. I was in person. I spent a lot of time working with the students on different routines. We were really getting into the routine, me specifically as an educator, of planning for my staff members and making sure they had all of their materials ready. We did a lot of fun lessons and we tried to stay safe. About midway through October, cases started to spike again, and I came back to teaching online. And through October and November, I spent the whole time trying to reacclimate myself back to online learning. This time, I felt very different than I did in March. I had a better grasp. I knew the kids. I had been with them in person, and that changed everything for me. We made schedules for each kid with clickable links. We had whole group times, small group times. Me and my paraprofessionals were on the same page. It felt much smoother this time around. When I was teaching online, I was using Boom, I was using YouTube, using my document camera. Now here in my new apartment, I had an entire office set up so I could have my computer and the monitor and the document camera. It felt very different this time around. It's still hard. It was still really, really stressful. And, some kids still wouldn't show up to class. I don't even know. Trying to adapt the curriculum from the general ed to the special ed, being more creative with how to create resources to fit the students' IEP needs. Oh, that was tricky. More IEP meetings on Zoom or on the phone. I could go on for days. I really could. I could go on for hours and hours about teaching through a pandemic. But then I reached December, and I thought to myself in November, December is going to be hard because we're getting closer to the end of the year. We're still teaching online. This is still really stressful, but I need to get it together. I spent December getting my materials prepped for the kids to come pick up in January, making sure they had all of their materials. I spent it doing fun activities, doing fun read-alouds, which really, really helped me. I decided to embark on Vlogmas, which actually saved my sanity. It was one of the greatest blessings for me in 2020. I was able to make videos every day, so I would work and then I would have my creative outlet. It kind of gave me something to do in quarantine. And then that leads us to here. Winter break, reviewing all of 2020. I can't believe I switched jobs, switched cities, taught through a pandemic, switched classrooms a bunch of times, met new kids, taught them online, taught them in person, taught them online again. Really, really hard stuff. I want to pause for a second because I do feel like through all of that, there were positives and there were negatives. I don't want to harp too much on the positives and I don't want to harp too much on the negatives. They're there. I'm acknowledging them. If you're a teacher and this year was one of the hardest years of your life, yes, it was really hard. And if you're a teacher like me and it was kind of like in the middle, then we're great. And if you're a teacher that this was the best year of your life, you're also great and validated and welcome here too. This was such a journey. But now that I kind of laid out my year, I can see all of it. I can see the trends. One of my biggest things I wanted in 2019 was I wanted 2020 to be the year where I worked my contract hours and was able to do my hobbies in my free time. And I do feel like I accomplished that. 2020 was also the year that I wanted to get a good grasp on how I would plan and how I would allocate and differentiate it for my staff. And I also feel like I had a good grasp on that. And 2020 was the year that I wanted to be able to have time in my life to teach, have my personal relationships, and have my hobbies. And by working from home, I feel like I've been able to have all three in a really good balance. And so to me personally, as this story is my story, I will end 2020 on such a positive note. I got to end it with my close relationships, with my job, my new job that I love, with my amazing students, and here on social media. I've been able to have Instagram and YouTube and this entire community, and I will never be able to articulate how grateful I am for this time. It's truly the most amazing thing ever to be able to connect and communicate with all of you guys as educators. So I don't know what this video is going to turn out like. I'm not sure as I'm recording this, but this is my story, my journey of teaching in 2020, a year in the life of a teacher. And if you can relate to some of it, great. If you've made it all the way through this video, you're the real MVP. But if it's something that you can't relate to or you had such a different experience, that's okay too, because we're all kind of going through it in our own ways. But you guys are amazing. I'm so grateful and I'm so excited for January 2021. All of the things that we're going to get to create on this channel. We're going to be talking about a lot more boundaries, self-care, adaptations, modifications, vlogs. I literally can't wait. Also, subtle plug, I do have a podcast where I interview teachers. We talk about how they became educators and one specific topic of their teaching journey and why they love it so much. Season 2, starting January 2021. So if you have not caught up from the previous season of the podcast, give it a listen and be excited for season 2. The podcast makes me no money. It's not monetized in any way. It's truly fun for me to create, and it's truly fun for me to talk to other educators that are similar to me, different from me, all of that stuff. But I'm rambling now. This was a fun video. I'm really excited to enjoy my New Year's Eve and party it up safely, and I will see you in 2021. Bye, everybody.